but no one really stands up to they're a good role model as a whole, because otherwise you're uplifting someone with a flaw, and then you're pursuing being someone who's flawed, which I don't think is logical.
Paul said, "Follow me as I follow Christ. Imitate me as I imitate Christ." Right? Paul is a flawed human being, but he's trying to live up to the ideal. He's becoming everything God has called him to be. That is, being conformed to the image of Christ. And as he's doing that, others can look up to him as a real life example of that and follow after him to do the same.
Who did you grow up with that made you think, I want to be like them? And what about them made you want to be like them?
For me, there wasn't many, I'll be honest.
Not even like superheroes or anything like
that? Maybe athletes.
Yeah,
because I was into sports.
Who'd you say and
why? So mine at the time was all based on just their athletic performance. I had no idea what the character was like, anything like that.
Fair enough. Okay, here's a question for you. Do you think it's good for kids to look up to athletes?
Yeah, but it depends. I think for their sporting achievement, yeah. But they should... I mean, I would teach my kids that, okay, you can respect the sporting achievement and aspire to achieve the way they have, but what's their character like? We don't know, because we don't know them off. So that's why I think it's important to have real life role models, if we want to call it that, people that you can see what they're like. You can see if they've got character or not. And one good sign of that, by the way, is if someone's kids love them, it's a good sign. Because their spouse can act in public, but kids can't act.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if their kids love them, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good parent. I mean, it's not foolproof, but it's a good sign, right? But yeah, I don't know. Did you guys have anyone you looked up to?
Probably. Okay, so kind of answering your question indirectly. I remember when I was like probably 0 to maybe 15, I never really... The question of what is a man never came to my mind. But something in the working environment I always looked up to, which I think is wrong, was like Harvey Specter. So when you think of Suits, you think of like Harvey Specter, you think about someone that just dominates everything. Someone that is... doesn't care what other people think about them, which in some ways is good, some ways is bad. And like the ruthlessness to go alongside it. And when I got my first job, I remember that's like the mentality I had going into it. But like if I think about it now, it's like those sort of characteristics, I would never want to be the person that he is in the workplace, because no one's gonna like me, and like work is about people as well. So
I can imagine you being a nightmare. I'm gonna change everything.
James, did you have any heroes growing up?
Okay, I was a bit of an odd one because I've always had tendencies towards perfectionism, but then annoyed myself with my inability to maintain it. So for me to find a role model that I looked up to that I couldn't find flaws in was something I tried to do for a long time.
What's an example of perfectionism that you couldn't attain?
Well, wanting to have the perfect career.
Yeah.
So
you're just pretty young though.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah. And it's, you don't want to come out of university and be like, right, I've been out of uni for 24 hours, where's my success?
Yeah.
It's an unattainable standard for yourself. But this was generally when I was much younger, so it was silly things. It was like, I want to be the strongest man in the world.
Yeah.
Be the fastest there ever was. And I noticed my kind of maturing through who I was able to relate to in the Bible as a man. So as a young boy, I would relate to Samson as a man, because he's very big and strong and he pulls down pillars, fights lions, has a jawbone of a donkey and kills a bunch of people. That's very manly. And of course, that's not a mature view of masculinity. It's a very childish view. And then through my teenage years and probably very early 20s, I was able to relate more to David, because he wasn't the typical view of a masculine man. Okay, he was this small shepherd boy, but he was chosen to be king, and he served, and he was a man after God's own heart. Yeah. And that finally was like, okay, as I'm getting closer to what it is to be a man, but he was also flawed. Okay, he didn't have the self-control of his flesh.
Yeah.
And then finally, this is only in the last 4 years or so, I was able to understand that Jesus is the masculine role model that we all need to have,
Yeah.
because he doesn't fail where everyone else did. And that was kind of where I rested, and I'm happy now with having that role model. And we obviously have certain men in society that are great role models. You have your family members, which are great, people in your church, as you mentioned. And there are some celebrities which, with an ability to separate wheat from chaff, you can identify their good traits. But no one really stands up to they're a good role model as a whole, because otherwise you're uplifting someone with a flaw, and then you're pursuing being someone who's flawed, which I don't think is logical. So when I finally understood that Jesus was the standpoint of masculinity and who to be, that was when I kind of rested. I'm happy with this role model now.
I think that's a great hallmark of maturity and entering into your own masculinity, is the recognition of the shortcomings of others. Right? When you realize that this is wrong, then it shows that you've already identified what is right, what is the ideal. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked about traits that are part of true masculinity, good traits, let's say. Let's talk about where it goes wrong. What are the things that are associated with masculinity that you would say are wrong, are a skewing of masculinity, or things that you wouldn't call part of true masculinity?
I'd say absolute hedonism is currently what is pushed as the best masculinity, isn't it? It's like you were saying earlier, you need to get loads of money at any cost. Okay, ruthlessness, like you mentioned with Harvey Specter. Okay, get all the girls, sleep around, don't have any compassion or thought of consequence, and your service is only to yourself. And then you end up in this just as a consumer of everything and a contributor to nothing. And that's where masculinity is completely flipped at the moment. And we really should be providing and producing as much value to others and having compassion and caring about others more in our masculine acts, and not looking to serve ourselves.
If it's not built on serving others, it's already gone wrong there. But yeah, is there anything you'd add to that?
I would agree with that. Another one that comes to mind, sort of, I guess I would define it as adventure and the willingness to enter into what it is to be a man and the hardships that go along with it. I think about Abraham, or when he was Abraham, and when he was in a rich family at his home. He had nothing to worry about, yet he had to be called out into the adventure to engage in what it is and to go through the learning process. I think that is one of the key things to being masculine, is to be willing to be masculine and to desire those things. And I think on the flip side, the negative is just the disregard of it. Maybe for it seems too much effort, or it's not appealing. You're you're experiencing gratification elsewhere in short term, in some of the pitfalls like lust or whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's like the desire to be a man and the lack of that is one of the biggest.
The unwillingness to look at yourself in comparison with what masculinity is.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get a dangerous conversation there, don't you? Okay, this is what we define masculinity is. Okay, how do I line up?
Yeah.
That's a scary conversation.
Yeah.
Because now you've got to open yourself. Vulnerability between you and God, absolutely. You've got to open yourself to highlighting your shortcomings. And then as a man, or, this isn't just to men, but it would be possibly more so, what do I do about it? Because once you are aware of a shortcoming, you have an obligation to yourself to try and fix it. And if you don't, that is something that many people can't handle. If you highlight a flaw, say for instance you've got an addiction, okay? If you highlight a flaw to that, I now know I have this addiction to painkillers, let's say. If I know I have that and I'm not doing anything about it, I'm living in a perpetual state of knowledge that I'm not who I need to be.
So do you think you can eliminate every flaw then?
No, but you can pursue the biblical standard to
Yeah.
it.
So you mentioned it, like your standard is Jesus. Obviously, that's kind of like that's like the best standard. You can't trump that. But from like a human point of view, sometimes, let me put it to you like this: so you can, like, the word of God, number one for sure. But there's something which, when somebody gives you a hug, you can't replicate through the word of God in a certain context. So as much as the Bible is the best description of what a man should be, we also have like physical people which we look up to. But you mentioned that the person you look up to is Jesus. So we would also have like our fathers, or maybe somebody who's in a position of power or authority, influence that we look up to. Well, all these people would be somewhat flawed. So how do you reconcile them trying to fix their flaws while you look up to them?
I think that's probably why you need to have the flawless example at the top, is so you can understand. And we are all flawed, okay? Anyone who says he's sinless lies to himself. Okay, it's documented in Scripture that is no one is sinless. We have flaws, but the Bible's incredibly precise in what it says we should do with those. We should bring them to the cross. Okay, we should take up our cross daily and try and sin no more. Go and sin no more. Okay, when that was a command by Jesus, I don't believe that was a direct instruction saying, if you sin one more time, okay, your sickness is coming back. I don't think that's what it was. I think it's a, try. Pursue sinning no more. And when you fail, get back up again. A righteous man falls 7 times, but he rises again. And I think it's the pursuit of always, even when you fall, pursuing getting that sin no more. You're not going to get it. That's kind of it sucks, but you're not going to get it. But you're pursuing it. It's a pursuit that will end once we enter glory.
Yeah.
But if you are aware of something, you then have a duty to bring it to the cross, bring it to Jesus, try and fix it, try and sin no more, and know that even when you do, he'll pick you up again and you have grace.
Yeah, I also think you need to recognize that it is the best way to live. It's not that you're doing these things because you're told to. It's like, go and sin no more, lest something worse come upon you, right? So it's not that we have to adopt these traits. We're forced to adopt them because we've been told to, or whatever. But it's that this is the best way to live. And living in this way is the best you could be, the happiest you could be. And you'll experience the most success, the most good success in that area.
Yeah, for sure. Coming back to your question, Josh, about how you reconcile looking up to people who you know are flawed versus having Christ as the ideal. I think knowing that there's an ideal, which is Christ, you know that anyone you look up to in this world is not going to be him. So with that in mind, you shouldn't be shocked when you see flaws. I think this is one issue people have when they have heroes, is they don't expect to see flaws, and when they see a flaw, it's like your idea of your hero has just been shattered. You shouldn't be surprised to see flaws. Now, obviously, some flaws are bigger than others, but we have the ideal, and we also have real life examples who, let's say, are closer to the ideal than us, and we're following them as they're following Christ. This is what Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ, imitate me as I imitate Christ, right? Paul is a flawed human being, but he's trying to live up to the ideal. He's becoming everything God has called him to be, that is, being conformed to the image of Christ. And as he's doing that, others can look up to him as a real life example of that and follow after him to do the same. So that's how I reconcile those.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You could also look for Christ in them. Identify, have the spiritual discernment to know this person is incredibly gifted athletically, and I admire that athletic quality, and I have the discernment to choose to respect and honour and love that. I like that. But then have the discernment to say, actually, I'm not going to take any advice from how they run their family or their work ethic. I can see they're a good athlete, but I'm not gonna idolize everything. Don't idolize anything, okay? But do honor and really respect the qualities which do reflect Jesus.
I find it so interesting how people are constantly looking for higher ideals, right? Higher examples, like what you were saying about how you were progressing through. It's like ideals are a judge, right? Like we were identified. Yet there's this yearning in people to look for the highest judgment, in a sense, when you think about it, the highest thing to aspire to, which reveals the most amount of flaws about your current position. Yet everyone has that innate desire that there is a perfection, there is a peak that we should strive for. It's strange. It's counter to what you would think, because people be like, okay, this is maybe achievable. I should just have that as my goal and then not feel so bad about myself. Yet people are like, nope, I need to have the highest thing I could possibly
It's
reach.
acquiring knowledge, isn't it? I mean, if I don't know about you guys, but when I entered school and people were talking about athletes, I stick with athletes because it's a really good example. Talking about the Olympics, one of the first things I would Google is fastest 100 meters, because I just want to know it. And it does become completely unattainable. I mean, some of these runners can go 100 meters under 10 seconds. I'm never going to do that. But you just want to know it. I don't know if that would be... would you say that would be the reason we'd look for that, is so that we have the highest goal? Or is it just
what I'm saying is that it's counterintuitive, because the higher the goal, the more your flaws are revealed, the more your shortcomings are revealed. So when you set your goal as Jesus, it's like, yeah, I'm never going to reach that. Yet that is still the right thing to do, right? So in order to progress towards this goal, which is unattainable, it's the right action to take, yet it's unattainable.
So not saying you're right or you're wrong, but why do you think your flaws are revealed when you strive for something greater?
Well, no, when
do
you
have an example of it.
When you look at Jesus...
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a step back. When you look at some of the characters in the Old Testament, you can be, or like David, for example... He's made some pretty decent mistakes, pretty big ones, right? And you're like, okay, here's a guy who was good and he did all these good things. Yeah, he made mistakes. It's like, okay, that's fair. So that doesn't make me feel so bad about myself, right? Mm-hmm. But when you look at Jesus, it's like, I got no chance, right? Yeah, so it reveals more about your shortcomings, your judgment.
But do you think with Jesus, people see it as, well, he's God, so I don't really have to compare myself to him?
I don't think we're called to be perfect, but we are called to act like him. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So comparison being the thief of joy. Okay, there's that kind of the idea you're thinking. If you compare yourself to the highest standard, you're just going to be robbed of joy. But there is a small caveat in that some comparisons don't rob you of joy. I think a comparison to your previous self is a very healthy comparison. That's actually can bring a lot of light. And also the comparison to the fact that the ideal human, the peak of masculinity, the peak of man, humanity that is, does live inside you. You do have a personal relationship with the living God. And then comparing that to your giants or your dragons, that's also a pretty healthy comparison.
Have you ever compared yourself to your previous self and you were worse than you were? Because that's pretty tough.
Yeah, but then I'll just think of the previous self. Further back, how far back can you go?
You're like, I'm trying to get back.